Do you perform durability analysis and fatigue predictions? Well, then we should talk about nCode. All right, so let's talk about nCode. So first off, it is offered by a company called HBM Prenscia. And actually, they have a lot of solutions. They don't just provide nCode, but that's what we're going to talk about today. So specifically what it does, it's a platform that helps engineers conduct durability analyses and predict fatigue failure. So what's interesting about that is they have some desktop solutions and actually have some web-based or browser-based solutions. But basically, what's really interesting about this to me is that there's some automation involved. So what you can do is an expert in this field who knows all the details about the analysis, which durability analysis and fatigue analysis that needs to be conducted, can basically set up like a templated workflow. And this can have many different inputs. It could have a finite element model input. It could have a spreadsheet input with custom calculations. It could have a stream of test data coming into it. But you define all these inputs to the workflow. And then you define how they're going to be connected, how they're going to be processed, and then what the results ultimately are. And sometimes these calculations are very, very complex. And that is saved off as an app. That app can then be used by a non-specialist engineer to basically define the inputs, to find the finite element model, maybe the spreadsheet, what strain gauge data is going to be used, or what loading data is going to be used on a time series, and then basically pushes go. And there's some other options like what number of cores you want to use and what kind of solver and what kind of formats you want to use and things like that. But those are all options you can define as part of this template. And once you push go, it kind of goes off and runs. And it gives back, after it runs, the results. So what's interesting about this to me is that it does two things. Number one, it standardizes the analysis calculations based on all the right inputs. So you're going to have a higher level of quality as a result from the analysis. Number two, it democratizes the use of these types of analyses within engineering. You have one expert that kind of sets it up, and then a whole bunch of other people that are non-specialists that can then go and use it again and again and again. So there's some pretty good and interesting advantages there. One other thing of note, they have a new platform called Akira. And basically it does all of this through a browser. Actually, you don't need a desktop installation. And that can further democratize the use of these capabilities. So it's a very interesting solution if you're doing a lot of testing. That can be an input. If you're doing a lot of analysis, that can be an input. It's kind of one platform for both of those fields, and all sorts of other custom things can be inputs to these workflows. So if you're doing these types of analyses, it might make sense to give it a hard look. That's it. Take care. Talk soon.